Video Part 1. Novel Summary Plus. One planet for everyone, building science and technology civilization at the beginning. Synopsis. Jiang Fan had transmigrated to a world where everyone could awaken a planet. The larger the planet, the higher the origin energy, and the stronger the civilization. Some people made theirs with chi to create a martial arts civilization. Everyone on the planet was a martial arts practitioner. Some people made theirs with magic power to create a magical civilization. Everyone on the planet was a mage. Some people made their spiritual energy to create an immortal civilization. Everyone on the planet was an immortal cultivator. Everyone was trying their best to construct all sorts of extraordinary planets. Jiang Fan, on the other hand, used his memories from his previous life to create a technological civilization. Your Star Destroyer directly pierced through the opponent's planet, and the opponent lowered their head. Your two-way foil turned the opponent's immortal cultivation planet into a piece of paper. You scared them silly. This is a story that used technology to break through all sorts of extraordinary civilizations. Tags 10 equals action, system, magic, cultivation, transmigration, campus, kingdom building, level up, evolution, advanced technology. Chapter 1. Everyone has a planet. Did you read the news? Just now, the goddess of BU successfully awakened her planet, reaching a diameter of 33 kilometers, setting a new historical record for our city. FCK, is that true? This strong. As expected of the number one genius of our city. Tisk tisk, with a diameter of more than 30 kilometers, converting this into high-grade energy should be easy. It's not just that. It's even possible to convert it into spirit energy. Spirit energy. That's a planet of cultivation. Sigh, let alone a planet of cultivation, I would be satisfied if I could create a planet of martial artists. Dash dash dash. In 7 middle schools of River City, outside the awakening room, a group of young students was discussing in whispers. Today was the day of awakening. From time to time, all sorts of shocking news would come. Everyone's expressions were different. Some were excited, some were envious, some were nervous, and some had a calm expression. Outside the crowd, Jiang Fan looked at everything calmly. He had transmigrated here for more than half a year and was already used to this strange world. Here, as long as she reached the age of 18, she would have the chance to awaken a planet and transform it into origin energy. Furthermore, she could create various extraordinary civilizations on the planet. Someone had converted their origin energy to create a card civilization. Everyone on the planet is a card user. Some people had transformed their origin energy into a soul civilization. Everyone on the planet is a soul cultivator. Someone had converted origin energy to create a cultivation civilization. Everyone on the planet is a cultivator. Dash dash dash. If awakened successfully, at best, he could have a territory that belonged to him and would become a master. If the awakening failed, he could only be a commoner for the rest of his life. Probably working for another planet master, so there would be no chance to climb up. It could be said to be able to step into heaven, one must risk taking a step into hell. For everyone, this was the most important day. The door to the awakening chamber opened and the first batch of awakened students walked out. Their expressions were different. The face of the one that had successfully awakened was filled with excitement and joy. Those who failed were dejected, a few girls even cried. Second batch of awakening students, prepare to enter. The teacher at the door glanced at the people queuing behind him and shouted. The students outside began to stand up straight. Jiang Fan was also in the second batch. Following the stream of people, they entered the awakening room. In the awakening room, everyone settled down. More or less, they were nervous. In front of everyone, there was a transparent round crystal ball. This is a crystal ball specially used for awakening. It contains a portion of origin energy. The teacher in charge of awakening said, later on, put your hands on the crystal ball. Once you awaken, the origin energy will flow into your body bit by bit. During this time, you will be able to awaken a planet. But if the origin energy is used up and the planet is yet to awaken, then the awakening will end and will be declared a failure. Next, please prepare yourselves. The awakening teacher glanced at everyone. Everyone put their hands on the crystal ball in front of them. Jiang Fan was no exception. He took a deep breath, his right hand slowly moved forward, and gently touched the crystal ball. Jiang Fan was nervous. After all, this was the only chance for the planet to awaken. The size of the awakened planet would determine the potential of each planet. The bigger the planet, the easier it was to convert high-level energy. For example, magic energy, star energy, origin energy, etc. There was even the possibility of spirit energy. If the planet was small, it could only be converted into low-level energy. For example, astral energy, and so on. If I want high-level energy, the diameter of the planet should be at least 15 kilometers. If it's less than 15 kilometers, then most likely, it's low-level energy. It can only be used to create civilizations like fighters or cards. Jiang Fan thought to himself. Awakening begin. As soon as the awakening teacher finished speaking, strange energy flowed out from the crystal ball, through Jiang Fan's right palm, it slowly merged into his body. A moment later, Jiang Fan found himself in his mind. Suddenly, a blurry space appeared. This space was filled with chaos and there were no objects. From top to bottom, left and right, it gave off an air of emptiness, it was as if the universe had just opened. Is this the awakening space? Jiang Fan knew. Later, a planet would be born in this space. He observed the awakening space for a while, and after confirming that there were no problems, Jiang Fan began to calm down and concentrate. He concentrated on awakening the planet, the time he could awaken was only a few minutes. To the choice of planet civilization, re-edited. The process of awakening the planet was not complicated. It would not last long, but it all depended on everyone's talent. A few minutes passed and Jiang Fan slowly opened his eyes. A hint of joy appeared on his face, he could feel it. Within the awakened space, in nothingness, a yellow dot appeared. This yellow dot was growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Its appearance gradually became clearer and became a sphere. Jiang Fan knew that this was the planet he had awakened. It was like a cell growing into an embryo. After about 5 minutes passed, the planet slowly took shape. This was a planet with an earthen yellow surface quietly floating in the awakening space. But the next moment, when Jiang Fan saw the size of the planet, his expression changed slightly. This was an extremely small planet, it looked less than a kilometer in diameter. True enough, Jiang Fan felt helpless. During the normal simulation test, Jiang Fan's results were not very good, it could be said to be average, so it was not easy to awaken a planet. A smaller diameter was very normal. Such a small planet, let alone high-level energy, even low-level energy would be hard to convert. Jiang Fan thought. Awakening a planet was just the beginning, a planet in the complete sense was a planet with life. Life had to be born, only then could it be considered a successful awakening. It was divided into 3 steps. Step 1, awakening a planet. Step 2, convert the origin energy into all kinds of energy. Step 3, catalyze life. He completed these 3 steps. When there's the birth of life on the planet, it could be considered a true awakening. The birth of life was closely related to energy, the higher the energy level of the planet, the higher the probability of life being born. And the energy came from the transformation of origin energy. The bigger the planet, the higher the probability of origin energy converting into extraordinary energy. An energy was divided into ordinary and extraordinary energy. Extraordinary energy refers to true chi, vitality, magic power, battle chi, origin energy, spirit energy, and so on. Ordinary energy, for example, light energy, wind energy, electric energy, geothermal energy, chemical energy, and so on. Ordinary energy could also give birth to live, but the probability was very small. Moreover, they would be born of ordinary life, so there was no potential. Jiang Fan's awakened planet is less than a kilometer in diameter, so the probability is even lower. It was almost impossible to give birth to live, which meant the awakening failed. Inside a room, the school leaders as well as the class teachers and teachers of each class gathered together. They were paying attention to the most important awakening ceremony of the year. All of them looked calm, but in their heart, they were more nervous than the students in the awakening room. After all, this was related to the school's results. If there were many successful students and the planets were large, the school would also benefit greatly and their fame would rise. It would also be easier to recruit students next year. Number 17 has successfully awakened. The diameter of the planet is 8 kilometers. Number 28 has successfully awakened. The diameter of the planet is 13.5 kilometers. Number 33 has successfully awakened. The diameter of the planet is 7.2 kilometers. As time passed, one after another, voices were heard. Number 8, planet diameter is 28.5 kilometers. A teacher shouted. Instantly, it attracted a lot of attention. 28.5 kilometers. This is one of the top geniuses. Which class is this? It seems to be Class 1. Class 1's results are really good. The principal nodded slightly as he listened to the discussion. This year's results were considered very good, as 2 students with a diameter of more than 25 kilometers had appeared. Number 81, planet diameter is 0.81 kilometers. A teacher read the result of Jiang Fan's awakening. 0.81 kilometers. It's less than a kilometer, I'm afraid it'll be hard to even give birth to life. I'm not even afraid. According to the previous records of the Federation, the diameter of the planet is less than 1 kilometer, although there is still a theoretical possibility, no one has ever successfully born life. What a pity. The teachers shook their heads and sighed. They were not too surprised. In the previous year's awakening results, the diameter of the planet that was less than 1 kilometer was not a minority. Dash dash dash. Such a small planet, it's almost impossible to give birth to life. If I can't give life to a planet, then it means that I failed to awaken. In the future, I can only become a commoner. Inside the awakening room, Jiang Fan felt a little unwilling. Once life could not be born, this meant that the awakening had failed. He would never have another chance in the future, so it was impossible to change fate. Jiang Fan came from an ordinary family. If he did not successfully awaken a planet, he could only work for other planet masters. It was not much different from the farmers who sold their bodies to the landlords in ancient times. At this moment, a strange voice sounded in Jiang Fan's mind. Detected that the host is awakening a planet, the god-level deduction system is activated. Jiang Fan was stunned for a moment before he reacted. The system. You finally came. He immediately looked into his mind. 3. I choose a technology civilization, re-edited. In his mind, a panel appeared. Planet name, none. Planet level, 0. Planet diameter, 0.81 kilometers. Planet species, 0. Deduction route, none. After everyone successfully awakened the planet, there is a data panel of the planet. The difference was, a deduction route appeared on Jiang Fan's screen. It is a product of the system. Jiang Fan looked at it carefully and asked, System, the deduction route is determined by me. The system did not reply. It was a tacit agreement. System, help me deduce the path of life on this planet, Jiang Fan thought for a moment and said. A moment later, a few lines appeared on the panel. Path of deduction, birth of life on the planet. Deduction result. Convert origin energy into extraordinary energy, and then catalyze life, success rate, 0.01%. Convert origin energy into normal energy, and then catalyze life, success rate, 0.1%. Convert origin energy into light energy, and then perfect the surrounding environment of the planet, creating a good cradle for the birth of life. Over time, slowly wait for the birth of life, success rate, 99%. A total of 3 deduction routes appeared on the panel and Jiang Fan looked at it. The probability of converting the origin energy into extraordinary energy is only 0.01%. Even if it is converted into normal energy, there is almost no chance of life being born. He saw the first 2 routes, and Jiang Fan was not surprised at all. In the third type, there was a 99% chance, this was almost a certainty. What he saw was somewhat mysterious, it was to allow the planet to generate its own life. Perfect the environment on the planet and allow life to be born on its own, would that be the same as Earth in his previous life? Looking at the third deduction route, Jiang Fan could not help but raise his eyebrows. The planet that just awakened is equivalent to a lifeless place, just like Saturn and Mars. Jiang Fan thought to himself, it's just that this world has origin energy and it can be converted into spirit energy and other extraordinary energy, which can catalyze a life. It's almost impossible for Mars to automatically produce life. Jiang Fan could not help but think of the original Earth. Earth was the only living planet that humans had discovered in the previous universe. Even so, the birth of life on Earth was also the result of various coincidences. Earth had a history of 4.6 billion years, it was not until 500 to 500 million years that life was born. It could be said, the birth of life was a miracle. The third route given by the system is similar to Earth. Jiang Fan could not help but think, from the process of life on Earth, we need water, suitable sunlight, temperature, and the atmosphere. Only then can life be born and developed, but these conditions are not so easy to satisfy. Water, suitable sunlight, temperature, atmosphere, etc. It's equivalent to creating an environment on Mars in my previous life, and then allowing Mars to automatically generate life. This is almost impossible. If I didn't have the deduction system, I definitely wouldn't be able to figure out what kind of degree is appropriate. For this world, this method was simply impossible. After thousands of years of planet awakening, there were only a few ways to create life. The most common and best used was to convert origin energy into extraordinary energy. Under the catalyst of extraordinary energy, a planet would easily give birth to life, moreover, there was a probability of an extraordinary creature being born. The more advanced the born life was, the stronger the vitality of the planet, and the better the future. If it was an ordinary life form, naturally, the development potential could not be compared to the planet where supernatural beings were born. If I use the third route to produce life, it should be an ordinary life. Jiang Fan thought of this. There was no unwillingness in his heart, but there was also a trace of excitement. After all, this was a life born naturally, without much interference from external forces. If it was the way life was born in the past, it was like putting spirit energy into Mars and it would simply and roughly catalyze life. This method could quickly give birth to life, but it is artificially created. It was equivalent to creating an ecosystem. After that, he had to take care of it all the time. With one mistake, the ecosystem would collapse. If life was born naturally, it was just like Earth from his previous life. There would be more and more lives, so Jiang Fan did not need to take care of them. One was an artificial ecosystem and the other one was the natural ecosystem, which was better, one could tell at a single glance. Although the probability of life born from this root is ordinary life, its development potential would not be any weaker than those planets that were catalyzed by extraordinary energy. Although ordinary life could not develop an extraordinary civilization, there is still technology. Jiang Fan could create a technological civilization. If technological civilization had developed to a certain level, it would not be inferior to those extraordinary civilizations. In Jiang Fan's memory, many science fiction works from his previous life described the shocking level of technology in the future. For example, in the technology of the God-class civilization, a drop of water could pierce through the entire Starfleet or a two-way foil could turn the entire solar system into a piece of paper. Above the God-class technology civilization, there were even more powerful existences. It was no exaggeration to say that the development of science had no end. Thinking of this, Jiang Fan made a decision. But in reality, Jiang Fan had no choice now. The third route had a 99% success rate, it was almost a certainty. System, use the third deduction route to help me deduce the various conditions for the birth of life, Jiang Fan ordered. 4-planet evolution, re-edited. Soon, the results of the deduction came out. Water, suitable sunlight, temperature, atmosphere, and other data appeared in Jiang Fan's mind. At the same time, he was observing the condition of the planet he had just awakened. This yellow planet is no different from most newly awakened planets. On the surface, it was mostly sand and stones. The temperature is below zero, so it is extremely cold and there are no traces of water. The environment is harsh, which is not suitable for living. Naturally, it is impossible to give birth to life. According to the data given by the system, Jiang Fan began to modify. The first was the appropriate temperature and sunlight. Originally, Earth had the existence of the sun, so it had this condition, but in the awakened space, there is only one small planet. Fortunately, there is origin energy in this world and it could be converted into all kinds of energy. Jiang Fan directly converted the origin energy into light energy. It was the creation of an artificial sun. The size, position, and distance of this artificial sun are set according to the deduction data. In the awakening space, outside the yellow planet, a golden energy ball appeared. It looked like a glowing star. In reality, it was just an energy body that was converted from origin energy. The artificial sun was born. Jiang Fan realized that half of his origin energy had been consumed, but he heaved a sigh of relief, as inside the artificial sun was a nuclear fusion reaction. Light energy and ordinary energy are produced. If it was converted into extraordinary energy, then the origin energy would be consumed even more. Under the sunlight, the temperature on the surface of the yellow planet began to rise bit by bit. Following this trend, he would be able to go from negative to positive soon. The problem of temperature and sunlight was solved. Next, Jiang Fan began to deal with the problem of the atmosphere and water. As the owner of this small planet, Jiang Fan had the greatest authority and he could modify his planet at will. But if there was no deduction system, a newborn planet will be like a newborn baby. It is extremely fragile, one modification that was not good could collapse a planet, even resulting in collapse. The setting of the atmosphere is relatively simple, so Jiang Fan quickly set it up. As for water, it is slightly troublesome. However, with the help of origin energy, Jiang Fan converted hydrogen and oxygen. Step by step, he synthesized a portion of water. On the planet, it is gradually covered by water and the surface of the planet slowly changed color. In the end, it became a small ocean, and land occupied only a small portion. For other aspects, Jiang Fan adjusted the gravity, magnetic field, crustal movement, and so on. It is the same as Earth in his previous life, so the birth of life is a relatively long process. After setting it according to the system's data, the shape and environment of this planet were already perfect. Compared to Earth in his previous life, it is not worse. However, the birth of life still required time. The system's deduction time was about 100 million years. The time flow in the awakened space is the same as the real-time flow outside, which is 1-to-1. In other words, if he had to wait for the birth of life, it would take over 100 million years. Jiang Fan would not be able to live another 10 lifetimes. Fortunately, origin energy could accelerate time. Jiang Fan did not hesitate and used less than half of his origin energy for time acceleration of the awakening space. 1 to 10. 1 to 100. 1 to 10,000. 1 to 100 million. Until it accelerated to 1 to 1 trillion, Jiang Fan stopped. As long as there is enough origin energy, in theory, it could be accelerated infinitely. But not many people would do that. Other planets were equivalent to an artificial ecosystem. Not to mention accelerating, they couldn't take care of it all day. It was possible that some unexpected accidents might occur and cause the ecosystem to collapse. For example, there was once a student. After the birth of life, he did not take care of it for a few days. In the end, the planet's ecology collapsed and all its life was gone. This caused the planet to degenerate and became a dead star. The student was also demoted from a planet master to a commoner. During this extremely fast acceleration process, the entire planet underwent a drastic change. In 100 million years, the sun continued to shine on the surface of the planet and the surface temperature slowly rose. It rose to an extremely high number that the crust slowly moved. In the sky, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Clouds were piling up and heavy rain drifting down. The shape of the land also changed greatly. In the small ocean, the water temperature was so high that various gases began to appear. For example, carbon monoxide, hydrogen, ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, and so on. These gases formed organic molecules, and as time passed, some small molecules of organic compounds began to dehydrate, gradually synthesizing proteins. Through thermal polymerization, the small molecules formed organic polymers such as proteins, polysaccharides, nucleic acid, etc. Protein is the main substance that formed an organism. Polysaccharides, sugars, and so on were the skeletons that formed many cells, the main components of the cell wall. There was also nucleic acid as genetic material. These organic macromolecules are beginning to evolve into primitive single cells. These are the three parts of the birth of life. First, gases synthesized small organic molecules. Second, small organic molecules were synthesized into organic polymers. Third, organic polymers evolved into primitive single-celled life. It looked simple, but to be natural, it's like the parts of a dump were automatically assembled into a car. The odds were slim, as it could only be described as a miracle among miracles. Even with system help, this process still took 100 million years. Of course, at a time flow rate of 1 trillion, it was less than an hour outside. Finally, in a body of water at a high temperature, the first life on the planet was born. 5. The first life is born, re-edited. In an ocean with boiling water, a microorganism that could adapt to high temperatures was born, thermophilic bacteria. Although it is just a tiny bacterium, it could also be considered a creature. Meaning this small planet, which was less than a kilometer long, gave birth to the first life. To become a real planet, this represented the successful awakening of the planet. Jiang Fan became a planet master. Seeing this tiny thermophilic bacterium, Jiang Fan heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, Jiang Fan noticed that the panel in his mind had also changed. Planet name, none. Planet level, 1. The newly born planet is extremely fragile and unstable. If one is careless, it would disappear like a meteor. Planet diameter, 0.9 kilometers. The size of the planet depends on the life force of the planet. The stronger the life force, the larger the planet. Planet species, 1. Deduction root, none. The diameter of the planet is a little more. Jiang Fan raised his eyebrows. It is not too strange, as the size of a planet completely depends on the life of the planet. The so-called life depended on the following three aspects. Life level of the planet. For example, humans were considered high-level life forms, so they provided more life than a lion. A lion's health level was higher than grass, naturally, the life force provided was even more, and so on. As for the lowest level of life like thermophilic bacteria, their life force is pitifully low. Number of life on the planet. The more life, the stronger the life force of the planet. Planet species richness. The more diverse the planet, the higher its life force. Now, Jiang Fan only had one life on this planet and it is also the lowest grade microorganism, naturally, there wasn't much life force. A planet over a kilometer in diameter, if it is outside, could be said that it was the lowest existence. But Jiang Fan was not in a hurry, as the evolution of this planet had just begun. The birth of thermophilic bacteria was only the first step, there would be more and more life after that. I'll name the planet Blue Star first. Jiang Fan looked at the planet and found a familiar name. The surface of the planet is no longer earthy yellow, instead, most of the area is covered by the ocean, so it is slightly blue. Jiang Fan checked and soon discovered that there was still a quarter of origin energy left. Origin energy is very expensive outside, ordinary families could not afford it. Only when awakened, only the authorities would provide one for free. Jiang Fan did not want to waste it, so he continued to consume the remaining energy to speed up the evolution of Blue Star. As the owner of this planet, Jiang Fan could sense all the changes happening on the planet. Inside the warm ocean, the number of thermophilic bacteria slowly increased. As time passed, other microorganisms began to appear. The first ones were the same as thermophilic bacteria, the lowest grade prokaryote. Time continued to pass. Prokaryotes evolved into protozoa. It was still the most primitive, simplest, and lowest creature, however, its structure and functions had changed a lot. A protozoan called cyanophyta evolved a characteristic that allowed photosynthesis. This kind of algae had strong adaptability, as it could endure high temperatures, freezing, lack of oxygen, dryness, high salinity, strong radiation, and other harsh environments. As algae and some bacteria continued to photosynthesize, they created a large amount of oxygen. For the birth of a higher-level life, it provided sufficient conditions. At the same time in the ocean, there were some eukaryotic creatures with real nuclei, such as primitive sponges and jellyfish-like creatures. This also represented the birth of animals and plants. Animals and plants were higher-level creatures, so they could bring extraordinary life force to the planet. Due to the increase in the life force, the planet is also gradually growing bigger. At this point, 300 million years had passed since the birth of the planet. Other than the evolution of life, there were also huge changes on the surface of the planet. There was more and more water, so the oxygen content slowly increased. The land gradually disappeared, as almost all of them were submerged by the ocean. All creatures were born in the ocean. Due to the good environment Jiang Fan had set up, the development of the species was much faster than Earth in his previous life. At this stage, Jiang Fan had no choice but to stop because origin energy had been completely exhausted. Jiang Fan could only stop the acceleration of the planet. The size of the planet had also taken shape. From the very beginning, it was less than a kilometer. Now, it had grown to its current size. In his mind, the panel data was shown. Planet name, Blue Star. Planet level, level 1. Planet diameter, 35.2 kilometers. Planet species, 215, does not include microorganisms and other lower life forms. There is no further notification. Deduction route, none. Even though they are all normal life forms, there are many different types and numbers, so it provided a lot of life force. The size of the entire planet had skyrocketed to a shocking level. Those extraordinary stars outside, despite their high level, the quantity and variety are far inferior. To the newly awakened extraordinary planet, to be able to have 5 or 6 species, one could be considered a genius. Use quantity to supplement quality, this was Jiang Fan's strategy. At the same time, the awakening of the others outside was also coming to an end. 6 final results. When awaken. The power of the source consumes light. It represents the end of this awakening. When Jiang Fan left the awakening space, he saw that most of the student awakening rituals are over. Some cheered and were very excited. Some were full of frustration and even wept bitterly. There are also complex faces, I don't know whether it is joy or sorrow. For all beings, the success rate of a planetary awakening is not 100%. Plus some planets that have successfully awakened are too small. There is almost no development potential. So only a few people are really satisfied with the results. According to the division of extraordinary energy, it is divided into 4 levels: low, intermediate, advanced, and super. Low-level energy. The main ones are true chi, astral chi, perception, mind power, etc. Intermediate energy mainly include vitality, vindictiveness, spiritual power, soul power, and so on. Advanced energy. The main ones are origin chi, dragon chi, magic power, star power, nether energy, etc. Super energy. The main ones are reiki, chi, void energy, etc. The higher the energy level, the rarer it is. Among all the awakened students, the conversion of low-level energy is the most. Intermediate energy comes next. There are only a handful of advanced energies. And super energy is just a matter of luck. At the same time, in the exam room, a group of teachers is doing the final statistics. The previous awakening of the planet was only the first step. Letting the planet give birth to life is the key. Many people have a smooth first step. But it fell 2 steps behind. The awakening of No. 1 was successful, and the final planet was 11 kilometers in diameter. The awakening of No. 2 was successful, and the final planet was 12.6 kilometers in diameter. Awakening of No. 3 failed. Awakening of No. 4 failed. The awakening of No. 38 was successful, and the final planet was 23 kilometers in diameter. The final grades of each student were read out. including the successful awakening and unsuccessful awakening. The school leaders and the teachers on the side had expressions of satisfaction on their faces. The principal nodded lightly and said, "This time the students did well. More than half of the students successfully awakened a planet." For example, Tang Qingqing and Shang Junhao from Class 1, the awakened planet was more than 25 kilometers in diameter. Although it's not as good as the top students in the first middle school, 2 top talents appear at one time, this result can also be ranked in the top. The vice principal next to him agreed. The others nodded in agreement. In accordance with general regulations, awakened planets with a diameter of more than 20 kilometers can be called geniuses. Those over 25 kilometers are top talent. The probability of transforming into advanced energy is very high. Over 30 kilometers is super genius. Converting high-level energy is guaranteed. If nothing else, an advanced civilization can be successfully created. There is no small probability that the super energy of aura can be transformed. And more than 35 kilometers of. It's called a monster. The probability of transforming into super energy is very high. Not to mention Zhongcheng. Even in Dongyang province, where Zhongcheng is located, there are very few. A school like Zhongcheng No. 7 middle school is not well known. 2 top geniuses emerge. It is the best result in the past 5 years. It's enough to make every leader happy. The awakening of No. 81 was successful, and the final planet diameter is 35.2 kilometers. At this time, the teacher's voice announcing the grades suddenly became sharp. The inspection room suddenly fell silent. One by one looked at the teacher strangely. 35.2 kilometers. How can this be? To put it in context, the most talented female student from the first high school, the diameter of the awakened planet was only 33 kilometers. This also broke the historical record of Zhongcheng. More than 35 kilometers, but it belongs to the monster level. Are you sure you read that right? The principal stared at the teacher announcing the grades, and his tone suddenly became tense. Headmaster, see for yourself. The teacher announcing the grades pointed to the screen in front of him. On the big screen, Jiang Fan's awakening results are in large font. At a glance, now there is no doubt. The hearts of school leaders and teachers. It all feels a little weird and absurd. Their school is barely top-notch. A genius student who broke records. It's really 35.2. Really? Our school actually produced a monster-level genius with a diameter of more than 35 kilometers. Which class is this Jiang Fan from? You can't hide it. It seems to be Class 2, and the results of Class 2 this time are not bad. Listen to the people talking. The principal waved his hand and said in a loud voice. Don't talk about it, let's announce the final results. Yes, principal, I'll do it now. A vice principal personally ran to take charge. They have been silent for so many years in Zhongcheng No. 7 middle school. It's not easy to get such an amazing result. Of course, we should promote it well. 7 miracle and new record. Soon. The last student wakes up. The door to the awakening room opens. The students couldn't wait to leave. Jiang Fan also followed behind and got out of the awakening room. As soon as he comes out, he saw a handsome boy surrounded by people. There was a lot of discussions around him. Shang Junhao's awakening planet is 28.5 kilometers in diameter. It's almost the same as Tang Qingqing. Amazing, my brother Hao. What brother Hao? It should be called God Hao. Words of praise and compliment came one after another. But the one with the most people around is not Shang Junhao. It was a tall and beautiful girl with a ponytail. This girl, Jiang Fan, naturally knows it too. It's Tang Qingqing. She is the recognized school flower of the 7th middle school. The results have been in the first place for a long time. Qingqing, congratulations, this time I was able to awaken a planet with a diameter of 29.8 kilometers, which is only a small step away from the threshold of super genius. The teacher at the door who was responsible for maintaining order came over and congratulated. Thank you, teacher, it's just luck this time. Tang Qingqing said modestly. But there was a hint of pride in his eyes. Fellow students. At this time, a vice principal came over. The crowd suddenly quieted down. All eyes turned away. The vice principal glanced at everyone, nodded slightly, and said loudly. This awakening ceremony has ended successfully. Our school has achieved good results. More than half of the people have successfully awakened the planet. Among them, there are 210 planets with a diameter of more than 10 kilometers. There are 23 planets with a diameter of more than 20 kilometers. There are 2 more planets with a diameter of more than 25 kilometers, namely Tang Qingqing and Shang Junhao from Class 1. The vice principal's voice fell. All eyes turned to Tang Qingqing and Shang Junhao in the crowd. The two suddenly became the focus. The discussion that had been paused rang out again. If it exceeds 25 kilometers, wouldn't that mean entering the ranks of top geniuses? We actually have 2 top geniuses this time. Great, great. But the vice principal wasn't finished. His eyes paused slightly on Tang Qingqing and Shang Junhao. Immediately, he raised the volume and continued. Here, I would like to congratulate Jiang Fan from Class 2. During this ceremony, the diameter of the planet he awakened exceeded 30 kilometers. It reached 35.2 kilometers. Breaking the record set by a middle school student not long ago. Created a new history of our Zhongcheng. Hearing these words from the vice principal, everyone's first reaction thought they had heard it wrong. Their Zhongcheng no. 7 middle school actually produced a student whose planet is more than 30 kilometers in diameter. Or more than 35 kilometers. School history. Such a result has never been seen before. Even more exaggerated. More than the recognized arrogant girl in the first middle school. How can this be? Although it is 35.2 kilometers. But also more than 35 kilometers. Entered the ranks of enchanting geniuses. Swish, swish, swish. At that moment, everyone's heads turned around. Their eyes fell on Jiang Fan. Each with a different look on his face. Some are amazed. Some envy. Some are incredible. Some are puzzled. But no one is jealous. This score. The people present did not dare to dream even if they dreamed. Shang Junhao and Tang Qingqing's expressions were a little unnatural. Both of them awakened 25 kilometers and above planets. Created the best results in the past 5 years. But in front of Jiang Fan who awakened a 35.2 kilometers planet. It was eclipsed. Originally. A moment of glory was just for the 2 of them. But now. It became Jiang Fan's exclusive use. Originally I thought there was no opponent in this school, but I didn't expect. Tang Qingqing stared at Jiang Fan, clenching his fingers slightly in his palm, thinking to himself. I will meet such a hidden guy, but initial planet size doesn't matter. What really matters is the creation of subsequent civilizations. Jiang Fan, come with me. The vice principal waved to Jiang Fan. Then he left the scene with Jiang Fan. All the way to the classroom building. Came to the front of an office. The principal's office. Jiang Fan glanced at the sign outside the office and raised his eyebrows. Go in, the principal is waiting for you inside. The vice principal smiled slightly. Then turned to leave. Jiang Fan reached out and knocked on the door. Come in. A slightly majestic voice came from the inside. 8 generous rewards and school show. Jiang Fan pushed open the door and entered. He saw it at a glance. A person sits behind the desk. A man in his 50s with a rather dignified face. It was the principal of Zhongcheng No. 7 Middle School, Tong Junsheng. A powerful 4th-level planet master. At this time, Tong Junsheng's aura changed. He put on a kind smile. He stood up and said kindly. Student Jiang Fan is here, come, sit on the sofa over there. Thank you, principal. Jiang Fan has lived in 2 generations. There is no restriction. Sitting down next to the sofa. Looking at Jiang Fan's natural and calm appearance. Tong Junsheng nodded secretly in his heart. Not arrogant or impetuous. No wonder it can suddenly come out and become a dark horse. Student Jiang Fan. Tong Junsheng looked at Jiang Fan and said. First of all, congratulations to you, for being the first in our school's awakening results this time. It also created a new record for Zhongcheng. Thank you. For these words, Jiang Fan didn't really care. Tong Junsheng is not a leader who likes formalism. After a brief chat. Then it goes straight to the point. According to our school's regulations, when the awakening score is first. Tong Junsheng smiled slightly and said. A reward of 500,000 federal coins will be given. 500,000. Jiang Fan's eyes narrowed slightly. The identity he was given. An orphan since childhood. Raised by federal aid. 500,000 federal coins. For Jiang Fan. It is naturally a huge sum of money. And unlike other people who have successfully awakened, Jiang Fan created a natural ecological planet. In theory, it does not require too many resources. As long as there is enough source power. But the price of the power of the source is very high. The official price is 1 million federal coins. Taking into consideration of Jiang Fan's net worth. He can't afford it at all. In addition to your achievements this time, you have broken Zhongcheng's historical record, so. Tong Junsheng continued. The school has decided to give an additional 500,000 reward. Add up to a total of 1 million. Just enough money for a source of power. That. Thinking of this, Jiang Fan looked at Tong Junsheng a little embarrassedly and said. Can these rewards be directly exchanged for a copy of the Power of Origin? Although, the price of the source of power is 1 million coins. That's the official pricing. If you buy it yourself, there are no doors or channels. And it might be more than this price. There is a ready opportunity now. Jiang Fan is not polite. Okay. Tong Junsheng didn't care about these details, but looked at Jiang Fan with some puzzlement, and asked. All of them are replaced by the power of the source. You don't consider using the money to buy other planetary resources first. As usual. Just after the planet awakened. It must be to cultivate more life first. Nurture life. Various resources are needed. For example, buy extraordinary life animals and plants. Back into the planet. As food for the intelligent life within. These all require a lot of money. Let's replace it with the power of the source first. The energy on my planet is a bit special. Jiang Fan smiled and said. Okay, it just so happens that I have a source of power here, so I will give it to you as a reward. Tong Junsheng got up. Open a desk drawer and take out a packaging box. Inside the box, there is a transparent crystal ball. Packed with a source of power. Thoughts on Jiang Fan? Tong Junsheng didn't understand where he was. But he didn't care. Instead, appreciated more. To be a powerful planet master. A thicker skin is naturally better. Jiang Fan took it. It didn't open immediately, and this trust is naturally still there. By the way, Jiang Fan, can you tell me what the initial energy of your awakening was? Tong Junsheng stared at Jiang Fan. Questions of concern were asked. Awakened planet size. It is just an appearance. The most important is the level of initial energy. The higher the level, the more likely it is to create a high-level civilization. Like a planet with a diameter of more than 30 kilometers. Often it is an advanced civilization. Even, super civilizations are possible. The diameter of Jiang Fan's planet is 35.2 kilometers. The probability is much higher. The energy of my awakening is somewhat special. Jiang Fan's vague reminder. Could it be super energy? Or the rarer kind? Qi. Void energy. Tong Junsheng immediately guessed. There was a faint hope in his eyes. For super energy, Reiki is the most common. Others are similar to Qi and void energy. It is relatively rare. Throughout the history of the 7 high schools, it hasn't appeared yet. Students who transform into super energy. Now there is Jiang Fan. Naturally, Tong Junsheng was looking forward to it. 9. The headmaster whose jaw dropped re-edited. Not super energy. Jiang Fan shook his head. Not super energy. Tong Junsheng's eyes were slightly stagnant, but he immediately reacted and said. That is high-level energy, and high-level energy is not bad. In the future, a powerful advanced civilization can be created. It's not high-level energy either. Jiang Fan said. Listening to Jiang Fan's answer, the smile on Tong Junsheng's face instantly solidified. Arguably, the diameter of the planet Jiang Fan awakened was more than 35 kilometers, so the probability of being converted into super energy is very high. Even with bad luck, high-level energy should also be guaranteed. Tong Junsheng didn't think about it at all. It's not even high-level energy. There is naturally some imbalance in my heart, but he was a principal for decades, so he returned to normal soon. After a brief silence, Tong Junsheng stared at Jiang Fan and said. Is it intermediate energy? Intermediate energy is not bad. Many powerful intermediate civilizations are not much worse than advanced civilizations. Tong Junsheng comforted a little reluctantly. With Jiang Fan's score, and he only converted into intermediate energy, it's like the first place in the college entrance examination. In the end, he went to a school that didn't even qualify for 211. It's not intermediate level energy either. Jiang Fan told the truth. Tong Junsheng was speechless for a long time. I don't know what to say. Not even mid-level energy leaves only low-level energy. This made him not even know how to comfort him. Low-level energy is also possible. With the size of your planet, it will have an advantage over others. Tong Junsheng reluctantly comforted him. Although Jiang Fan's continued energy is somewhat unsatisfactory, in the end, it is the first place in this achievement, so Tong Junsheng still feels that there is potential. It's not low-level energy either. Jiang Fan was quite helpless, but he still told the truth. The energy I transformed into is somewhat special, not extraordinary energy. It's light energy, that is ordinary energy. Tong Junsheng's body trembled suddenly. The teapot that he just picked up trembled and almost hit the table. Even if Tong Junsheng is a 4th-level planet master and served as a principal for decades, he was also surprised by Jiang Fan's words. You are a monster-level genius who broke the historical record of Zhongcheng, and the transformed energy is not extraordinary. But ordinary energy. If people said it, no one will believe it at all. To put it in context, according to records, planets corresponding to ordinary energy are very small, and the largest is not more than 15 kilometers. Where can there be such an exaggeration as Jiang Fan? It is completely inconsistent with the normal law of planetary awakening. But Tong Junsheng also knew that Jiang Fan couldn't lie. This kind of thing will be clear when you check. Headmaster, if there's nothing else, I'll go first. Jiang Fan stood up, ready to leave. Okay, you go back first. Tong Junsheng didn't know what to say. The originally prepared speech, but was directly disrupted by Jiang Fan's amazing news. After leaving the principal's office, Jiang Fan follows the flow of people and left the school quietly. Outside the school gate, there are a lot of media and people from all walks of life, but he didn't get much attention. He went straight back to his home. Jiang Fan is an orphan, so he lives in federal relief housing. Once home, Jiang Fan couldn't wait to open the crystal ball he just got from the principal. Inside the crystal ball, it is equipped with a complete source of power. With this source of power, I can accelerate the blue star and let the planet continue to evolve rapidly. Jiang Fan thought to himself. Putting down the crystal ball, Jiang Fan turned on his second-hand communicator. This communicator is the product of immortal civilization. Inside is engraved with an ultra-miniature teleportation array, so information can be directly transmitted in space and sent over. On the screen, it is instantly filled with all kinds of news. There is no doubt that Jiang Fan broke the Zhongcheng record. It has been known by all forces, so many forces sent congratulations and cooperation requests. Jiang Fan browsed a few more. Most of them are from some capital or planetary management companies, and there are also some local families. The point is to provide resources to help Jiang Fan build his planet. Of course, it's not free. Those forces naturally want to occupy the shares of the planet, so it's a win-win situation. Like Jiang Fan, a commoner of ordinary origin is the favorite of major capitals. If Jiang Fan doesn't have a game system, in the end, it is necessary to accept the favor of these forces from a multitude of capitals and choose one. After all, the making of the planet needs a lot of resources and funds. 10 Explosion of Life re-edited. Re-edited. If the family did not have tens of millions of funds, they couldn't even think of becoming a level 1 planet lord. Unlike Jiang Fan, others who created planets needed at least a professional planet management team. They were responsible for the maintenance of the planet's ecosystem and the future deduction. If one of them did not pay attention, the ecology of the planet was very likely to collapse. Not to mention creating an extraordinary civilization needed all sorts of expensive resources. These required a large amount of money. Fortunately, Jiang Fan had a deduction system. There was no need for a management team. Blue Star was also a natural ecosystem. There was no need for Jiang Fan to take care of it. All he needed to do was follow the order and evolve normally. Jiang Fan saw it. There were a few different messages. They wanted Jiang Fan to endorse their company's products. The endorsement fee was also relatively high, but very quickly the other party sent a new message. They cancelled the endorsement deal. The reason, Jiang Fan did not need to think to know, they probably understood the fact that the initial energy he converted was just ordinary. Capitalism is real. Jiang Fan sighed. Ordinary energy planet, people wouldn't even bother to look. In this world, there were naturally planets made of ordinary energy, but none of them got up. In the end, the ecosystem collapsed and they turned into a dead star. Or they would be crushed into pieces by all sorts of supernatural planets. A normal person to fight against magicians, practitioners, and other extraordinaires wasn't that funny. However, Jiang Fan wanted to prove that ordinary planets could still develop a powerful civilization. After cooking himself a simple but nutritious meal, Jiang Fan did not rest. Instead, he continued the evolution of the planet without stopping. He entered the awakening space, and a blue planet was slowly moving. Jiang Fan observed a few times, and after confirming that there were no abnormalities, he began to use his origin energy. A new round of acceleration, but this time, Jiang Fan did not plan to use a ratio of 1 to 1 trillion. The faster he accelerated, the more origin energy consumed. This was all the original energy Jiang Fan currently had. He had to save some. After setting a new acceleration rate, Jiang Fan was calm and collected. He looked like a spectator observing the evolution of this planet. On Blue Star, time passed quickly. The ecology of the entire planet was also undergoing drastic changes. The blue algae played a crucial role. This was the first oxygen-producing creature on the planet. The cyanobacteria used solar energy to synthesize water and carbon dioxide into organic nutrients, and at the same time released oxygen as exhaust gas. Oxygen was produced by the blue algae. The lack of oxygen on the planet had changed entirely. The birth of a higher life form provided a good environment. The era of monocytes had passed. Multicellular life began to develop. According to the history of Earth in his previous life, this place should be the end of the primordial universe. It was about to start the tide of modern life. Earth from his previous life was 4.6 billion years old. It could be divided into 4 eras: Ancient, Archean, Proterozoic, and Phanerozoic. Ancient Era, 3.8 billion years ago, it was a desolate place without any life. Archean Era, 2.5 billion years ago, a single-celled life was born. Proterozoic Era, 600 million years ago, multi-celled life was born. Phanerozoic Era, 6 million years ago, advanced plants and animals began to appear. Creatures gradually evolved into more advanced animals. Animals already had a shell and a clear skeleton structure, so they were called the Phanerozoic. This was the division of Earth. On Blue Star, Jiang Fan was too lazy to think about other names. The 4 names were the same to divide the history of Blue Star. At this moment, it happened to be the end of the era. It was about to open the tide of advanced life. The beginning of the universe, Cambrian. The first life force burst forth. Because the lower life forms could not adapt to the new planet's environment, a new higher life form appeared. For example, arthropods, brachiopods, vermicular animals, sponges, chordates, and other animals were the same as modern animals. It was represented by the trilobite. It laid the foundation for the evolution of life in the Phanerozoic. Compared to when the planet had just awakened, there was a huge increase in life points. Even though it had not evolved to the level of modern life, the number of species sufficed. At the same time, the size of the planet also kept increasing. 11 Crazy Rising Planet Area re-edited. Re-edited. In Jiang Fan's mind, the facial data of the planet has undergone obvious changes. Planet name, Blue Star. Planet level, first class. Planet diameter, 50.4 kilometers. Planet species, 312. Deduction route, none. 312 species. Jiang Fan raised his eyebrows slightly. But immediately respond. If you count the total number of species after the birth of life on the plane, it is more than that. There are possibly thousands. But with the emergence of new species, it turned out some lower species are not adapting to the new environment or invaded the living space and gradually die out. The life force of the planet depends on the species of life on the planet, and those extinct species will not be counted. Although many species have become extinct, there are more new species, and higher life levels provide more vitality. Continue to evolve. After a short thought, Jiang Fan continued to accelerate the awakening space, and he observes all this silently. From the birth of the planet to the present, Jiang Fan hasn't intervened. But for easier observation, Jiang Fan divided Blue Star into several epochs. There are 4 main ones: Hadene, Archean, Proterozoic, and Phanerozoic. Hades, in the first 300 million years, there was no life. Archean, 300 to 400 million years, the birth of single-cell life. Proterozoic, 400 to 500 million years ago, multicellular life was born. Phanerozoic, from the 500 millionth year to the present, advanced animals and plants began to appear, the embryonic form of modern life. Obviously, the Phanerozoic is the point. In the Phanerozoic, it is further subdivided into several periods. This is not like the Earth in his previous life that is only intended to be roughly divided into several major periods. After all, the diameter of the Earth in the previous life exceeded 10,000 kilometers. And Blue Star is only 50 kilometers, it is far less, so not so many species have developed. In the first period of division, Jiang Fan named it Cambrian. On today's planet, they are in the midst of the explosion of life in the Cambrian period. Lower fish, ancient amphibians, and ancient reptiles appeared one after another. Insects and amphibians flourish. Ancient plants were dominated by marine algae during this period. Primitive plants began to appear on land. Ferns have also developed and flourished to the extreme, forming dense forests and an important coal-forming period. In the sea, the earliest vertebrates began to appear, jawless fish. The level of life is further improved. At the same time, the crustal movement inside the planet is also quietly going on. On the planet's surface, no longer is it all covered by the ocean, as many huge fold mountain systems appeared. Alpine, hills, mountains, and so on appear one after another. The terrain of the Blue Star is starting to become colorful. Mass extinction of species, fortunately, is different from the previous Earth. Since the Blue Star is much smaller, in addition, Jiang Fan used the deduction system, there is no mass extinction event happening here. As time goes by, the Cambrian period has gradually come to an end. At the same time, many new species are born. Soon, accelerated by Jiang Fan's unstinting source power, a new period has come, and it is the Jurassic. Jiang Fan was still too lazy to choose a name and directly adopted the name from the previous Earth. Among the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous periods, finally, Jiang Fan adopted Jurassic, the most famous period named. This is also so far, after Blue Star awakened, the most important period. 12 Jurassic era of dinosaurs. Re-edited. Re-edited. After the Cambrian period ends, it is the beginning of the Jurassic. Species on the planet have reached unprecedented heights, whether it is the quantity or the life level, it is far more than before. The most conspicuous is the rapid growth in the diameter of the planet. On the planet panel, there have been corresponding changes. Planet name, Blue Star. Planet level, first class. Planet diameter, 83.6 kilometers. Planet species, 502. Deduction route, none. When the Jurassic era came, it has accelerated this growth. Jiang Fan was also looking forward to it. Earth in the past, in many epochs, the Jurassic is probably the most famous one. The main reason for this is in this era, there lives a well-known large animal, dinosaurs. This incredible creature has been referenced by countless film and television animation works in later generations. I wonder if dinosaurs will be born on the Blue Star. Jiang Fan couldn't help but have such an idea in his heart. He also knew that the conditions of Blue Star are completely incomparable to Earth, as the area is too small, so there is no room for dinosaurs to grow, so it's hard to give birth to large creatures like dinosaurs. The truth is as Jiang Fan expected. After the Jurassic begins, the whole planet became warm and dry. Primitive mammals appeared. It was also at this time that the first vertebrates that could fly appeared. The earliest turtle in the world, the Seychelles giant tortoise, was born. The first snakes, moths, bees, and many new small mammals also appeared one by one. Then, birds began to appear. Mammals develop slowly and vigorously. Flowering plants also make their debut. It also represents the highest and largest group in the plant kingdom, angiosperms. Boarded the stage of biological evolution, such as magnolia, willow, maple, poplar, birch, palm, and so on. Angiosperms flourished rapidly and spread all over the surface. The emergence and development of angiosperms provide a large amount of food for some animals, such as insects, birds, and mammals. Among animals, such as horses, antelope, and bison, some common species were born. On the planetary structure, land and sea gradually became distinct. Grassland, alpine, forest, hills, basin, and desert appear one by one. The crustal movement tends to be stable, so the climate is more suitable for the survival of life. If we assume that the Cambrian is called the explosion of life, then the Jurassic is the Big Bang theory. The number and quality of species present are far from comparable to the Cambrian. It's a pity for Jiang Fan. The dinosaur that he has been thinking about for a long time has never been able to appear, but there have been many species that are not quite the same as the previous Earth. After all, they are two different planets, so for the evolutionary direction, of course, they can't be exactly the same. The time is approaching the late Jurassic period. Although this period is not long, it is the most colorful. All kinds of new species are on the way. To the planet, it gives amazing vitality, so visually, the diameter of the planet has exceeded 100 kilometers, and more. There are probably more than 1,000 species on the planet now. Jiang Fan made an estimate while observing. If you show it to others, it is estimated that it will scare a lot of people to death. To understand, even on a Tier 4 planet is almost impossible to have so many species, not to mention a planet has just awakened. It is already very good. With a little regret about not being able to see dinosaurs, Jiang Fan looked away. The next stage is the third generation of the Phanerozoic. After the Cambrian and Jurassic, another era is also the most critical and important period until the birth of the planet, the Anthropocene. Intelligent life begins. 13. The birth of the human race and the beginning of civilization. Re-edited. Re-edited. Cambrian, Jurassic, and Anthropocene, each is divided by the appearance of a representative creature. Cambrian. Low-level primitive animals and plants appear. Jurassic. Advanced modern animals and plants appeared. Anthropocene. Intelligent life emerges. The diameter of the planet today has reached more than 100 kilometers, plus a warm and humid climate and unique environment. It gave more life and more advanced species a chance to be born. As human ancestors, ape has appeared. At the beginning of the Anthropocene, the first ancient ape, the prairie, was born. After, other ancient apes appeared in sequence. In chronological order, prairie ancient ape, forest ancient ape, and Australopithecus were born successively in the direction of getting closer and closer to human beings. After the ancient apes, human-like apes emerged. The biggest difference between ancient apes and great apes is ancient apes were unable to use tools and great apes can. During the development of the great apes, in order of precedence, it is divided into 4 stages: early ape man, late ape man, early Homo sapiens, and late Homo sapiens. In the end stage of late Homo sapiens, the modern race began to form. In a forest, the first real human being is born. As time goes by, more and more humans appear. For better survival, they fight against the beasts around them, and humans form a small group. The emergence of intelligent life such as human beings brought a lot of vitality. It is also to increase the volume of blue star once again. Sure enough, the vitality of intelligent life is completely unmatched by other species. Watching the planet grow rapidly, Jiang Fan, who had been observing, showed a smile. The planet has evolved to this point, it just counts as a real start. To know, other people's extraordinary planet, from the beginning, intelligent life has been born, and it is an extraordinary life. At present, the number of human beings on the entire planet is about a few hundred people. Jiang Fan checked the human situation in each area in one place. Benefiting from the excellent environment of the planet, humans are not born without food. The main threat is the mighty beast out there. But with teamwork, humans make tools such as stone tools and start hunting giant beasts. Gradually they become the master of this planet. As time goes by, humans began to walk out of the lush forest and drive the beast away. They occupy the rich plains, build houses, plant edible plants, and domesticated beasts. They build civilization step by step, and writing and language also appeared. The number of humans is gradually increasing. Gradually, friction and conflict began to arise among the various small groups. Someone died in battle, and the winning group absorbs the losing group and becomes more powerful. After a brutal battle, two larger groups eventually formed. The most primitive two tribes were born. One is called Huang, and the other one is called Barbarian. Both the Baron tribes and the Barbarian tribes have populations of hundreds of people, so no one can swallow the other in one bite. Little friction is constant, but no big conflict. After decades of development, in the 10th generation, the Barbarian tribe ushered in a powerful leader. The two tribes' leaders' name is consistent throughout the ages. They are called Barbarian and Huang. The leader of this generation, Barbarian, is a tall, sturdy, and powerful warrior. The Barbarian tribe itself advocates force and worships the mighty beasts of the wild. Barbarian is constantly challenging the various warriors in the tribe and beating them one by one, which raises the cohesion of the Barbarian tribe to an unprecedented height. After conquering the tribe, the leader, Barbarian, started to fight against the desert tribe. The Baron tribes are unstoppable, they win more and lose less. And the leader of this generation of the Baron tribe is Huang, who is quite different from the previous leader. He has an average physique. There is more of a weak air about him, rather than being brave and ruthless. He prefers to study the use of words and tools, so he is often alone thinking late into the night. Interesting guy. Seeing this, for the first time, Jiang Fan focused on one person. 14 Jiang Fan intervenes in the enlightenment of the Baron Emperor, re-edited. Re-edited. Jiang Fan wants to develop scientific and technological civilization, so the most important thing is of course talent. Tech talent who are helpful with scientific research. Like a leader, although physically strong, he is very charming. But for Jiang Fan, it didn't help. It is to let Jiang Fan see the corresponding characteristics of this aspect. The first question facing now is the threat from the Barbarian tribe. System, help me deduce, if I help the leader Huang, how much will it affect the development of the blue star ecosystem? Jiang Fan asked. Soon, the answer came. Deduction results. 1. If you help openly, it may lead to irreversible consequences, and the probability of ecological disturbance is 30%. 2. If you help secretly, the probability will be less than 1%. With these two routes, Jiang Fan almost didn't need to think about it. Looks like secret help. Jiang Fan made a decision immediately. As the creator and master of the planet, the means of Jiang Fan's secret help are also easy, like direct control of the soil and writing in front of the leader. It is not words, just some symbols. At this time, the leader Huang is staying under one of the big trees. He spends most of his time and is distressed over the prospect of the tribe. Do you know the biggest difference between humans and beasts? One line of text appeared at his feet of him. The biggest difference. Huang was slightly taken aback and started to think. He suddenly realized something and he was shocked. He jumped 3 meters away. You, what are you? Huang was stunned. I am a man from heaven. Jiang Fan replied. A man from heaven. Looking at the words on the ground, Huang gradually calmed down. As a primitive tribe, there is a blind belief in heaven and earth. Looking at this trick, he started to believe. Answer my previous question. Jiang Fan continued to control the soil, writing words. Huang suddenly fell into thinking and thought for a long time. But there was no clue, and his expression couldn't help but feel a little frustrated. It's wisdom. Jiang Fan helped him answer. Wisdom. Seeing these two words, Huang's entire body shook, as if to understand something. Human beings are far less than beasts in terms of individuals, but, Jiang Fan typed in the text and said. With wisdom, you can use tools and work together. That's what enables humans to defeat beasts and be the master of this land. If you don't use wisdom, how can weak humans fight those ferocious beasts? After writing this, Jiang Fan ended this exchange and he left a Huang in contemplation. This is also a test from Jiang Fan. If he can't rely on his wisdom and get that tribe out of the immediate crisis, then Jiang Fan will simply give up. Jiang Fan was not disappointed. After pondering for a long time, he thought of a solution from Jiang Fan's words. He began to use his wisdom and take the initiative to invite Barbarian to come to the junction of the two tribes for friendly exchanges. With some unwilling flattery, the leader of the shoot was very elated. A few jars of poor wine down, Huang proposes to become sworn brothers with Barbarian, and they work together to deal with the ferocious beasts outside. The atmosphere is pretty good, so he did not refuse. After paying affection and a lot of materials, the alliance was a complete success. The Baron tribe has also temporarily escaped the crisis of war. Years thereafter, Huang continued to surrender his identity and consider Barbarian as the big brother. Year after year, large amounts of grain, livestock, and women let the Barbarian tribe not have the idea of attacking the Baron tribe. At the same time, Jiang Fan's secret teaching to Huang also began. Grin 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 like it. And subscribe now, grin grin grin. Video part.